I sort of have some discussion or disagreement with no sense of smell. We have neighbours and they're holiday makers, and when they come down and bring their babies, they put the soiled nappies in the bin, and it would be 10 minutes before it's raided with by cockatoos, and if they don't put soiled nappies in, they don't come. So I'm not disagreeing with you, I'm just saying that I've seen it, and one of our other shed members has the same thing, particularly, so maybe that's something, it doesn't need to be looked into, but that's actually what happens. So.
Well, that's an interesting observation. I've no idea what the attraction of the soil packing might be. I didn't mention that I did some experiments in the Cockatoo aviary at Hillsborough Sanctuary, made up a whole lot of timber frames and treated them with hospital-grade disinfectant, a substance called methylene phenolate, which is very distasteful to all birds. It affects their mucous membranes in their nose and mouth. Deter, which is a proprietary product sold to deter cockatoos and other birds. There were about 7 or 8 different things, plus water as a control. All of those frames got destroyed in an equal amount of time. So the smells and the tastes of those products made no difference to them. I think one was painted as well. And the point is that they're not eating it, it's simply biting bits off. They're not even tasting it. So I think that'll probably answer some questions about treatments you might use to try and deter them. There's not a lot of scope there. One of the things I didn't mention, I haven't mentioned, is ways of deterring them from damaging houses. Possibly one of the best ways is electric shock strips, which you can buy, and they're attached to a little energizer. It's like an electric fence, but it's got a strip of plastic with 2 wires in it, and the puppy bridges that with its foot, it gets zapped. It doesn't do any damage, but it gives it a fright. And I think that's one of the probably a few things that the puppy may not learn to get used to. Almost everything else they work out.
Question, you see the spikes that people put on pipes and stuff like that. How does that affect? Have you done any studies or?
I've seen that used. It's often and probably best used for deterring pigeons for roosting on ledges. Cockies are more likely to just see that as something else to fiddle with and they fall off. I've seen it used on a roof to deter seagulls from nesting there, and it formed a beautiful structure for anchoring the nest. So they can be used in some situations, but I think there's much scope for them for cockies.
I just noticed the cockies seem to bully some of the other birds. Is that normal behaviour? Because at our place we've had king parrots come that are just inquisitive, sitting on the fence, and the cockatoos will actually come and really aggressively bully them.
Look, it varies. Cockatoos sometimes will bully other birds. I've seen at my place cockies chasing magpies. I've seen magpies chasing cockies. So I don't know what's going on there, but it's not something they do all the time. It's occasional behaviour. And it probably is very much situation dependent.
And the galahs seem to stay separate. The galahs and the cockatoos don't seem to have a very cordial relationship either.
Quite often, if they're feeding on the ground on onion grass corns or something, they all feed happily together, and with corrals too. It's not unusual, but you do see occasional squabbles, and you see that within the species as well as between the species.
We might move on now, and we'll open it up for questions again at the end of the session. Neil Brewster is the Coordinator of Waste Management with Surf Coast Shire. Neil, your role, or your team's role, is to help manage all things waste, including this issue. We're interested in what Council's doing.
Yeah, and it's been an issue for quite a while, and thanks Ian for that background on the copies. Hopefully an appreciation of the challenges we're facing and how smart and conniving they can be, playful. And it's been a long time we've been working on this issue. So Ian mentioned that it's quite a unique situation here in Lorne for Victoria. Sydney's facing a few similar issues. known Toronto Zoo have been doing some studies up there, and we've tried to contact him. But essentially, it is quite unique in some areas, and it's very isolated pockets, and no one's really got a solution to the bin issue. So, one we've been fighting. If you've ever been to Hampton Island, it's probably a worse situation up there. Went up there for a holiday a few years ago, and they actually broke into the house and raided the kitchen and trashed it. And feels great thing to come home to, but yeah. Just one other thing before I move into the presentation. I saw on the news a couple of weeks ago up in Melbourne where cockies were having some fun pushing pot plants at balconies. People walking beneath them were dodging flying pot plants, and they're having a great time. So we haven't quite got that situation here, but just some examples of the mischief they get up to when they're a bit bored. So yeah. So over the years, we've probably started on this first journey about 10 years ago. We actually engaged Ian a few years back to help us engage and do an education program that do not feed the cockatoos. And it's about 2016 we started looking at different mechanisms. We've got a few of the past ones we've tried on display here. Some have had varying success and looked very hopeful, but others just we knew they wouldn't last long, but we gave them a go anyway. There's also been lots of homemade efforts. Again, some have been great, some look very promising. The one right there, that's, to me, looks like it's worth pursuing further. Found that a few weeks ago. Some are just outright dangerous. Sure, it might not let cockatoos into the bins, but flying water bottles are just going to cause damage to trucks and people and all sorts of things. So everyone's trying, we're trying, the community's trying, so it's a very difficult issue. I'm just trying to get the volume right from people at home. So over the years, it's, to get to work, it's got to keep the cockies out. The one on the left, keep the cockies out. It needs to automatically open when the trucks are with you. There's no point locking them in if the driver's got to get out and do something to empty the bin. It would take them weeks to empty one town with previous issues. It needs to be easy to use. It needs to not cause stress in the bin. So things like weights on the lids, it might keep the copies out if it's above a certain weight, but the risk of lid snapping off and going flying through the air is a bit high for a risk that accounts for actual receptors. It needs to open for a range of different weights of rubbish in the bin. So you've got a heap of light stuff in the bin, like polystyrene or plastic bags, there's not much weight in there. Something like a spring weight open when it's empty, so there's not enough weight to push the lid open. And it needs to be cost effective. So these are all the things that we're trying to consider in coming up with a solution. As I said, we've tried lots of things over the years, and so have the residents. But here's where we're at the moment. We've got 4 options we're trying to explore. We know one, the bottom right one. We've got about 100 of those out there already. And we're hearing reports that their copies are working those out. There are high hopes for that one, but unfortunately it's not looking like it's going to be a go long term. And that sort of goes along with the reason why we're trying lots of different options. We don't want to pursue one particular thing to find out in 6 months' time it's not working. So I'm going to hand over now to a few of the inventors, or great minds that people have been coming up with. So I'll start with Ron. Where's Ron? So it's going to have a few minutes about what their actual design is and talk about it and how it actually works. So just a bit of background about Ron. So Ron's is a registered builder, been working as a builder for 40 years. Comes from Massey Ranges. Yeah. And they have similar issues with things with something.
Not far from me.
Yeah. And not so much the cockatoos up there, but other birds and other things getting into bins. So Ron's been ticking away in his shed, and he's committed about 13 different versions of his device. But the one we've got now is looking the most hopeful. So we're going to roll out a few more of these to try. So over on.
Yeah. Thank you everyone. It's a difficult project designing something that'll satisfy all the parameters with regards to opening on a truck, it's like a big mean monster. It damages things. Being able to use it easily in the household, and obviously the cockies, the wind, birds, crows up our way, they're a problem as well. So what we came up with was a mechanism that worked under gravity on the back that hopefully doesn't get caught up in trucks. It's easily used by one hand. It's engaged most of the time, so when it's in the backyard, the cockies can't come into your carport, your backyard, and access, the waste which is contributing to the problem of teaching them to access bins all the time. We find that the cockatoos don't like hard objects, so the metal spring steel was used because of the longevity of the product, hopefully. It's only in development, like a lot of the products are. We don't know if there might be a problem down the track, but we'll address each one as they come. And it'd be really appreciated if, residents have a problem, that they go to the Shire, they come to us and let us know what they are so we can deal with it, So that's what we've come up with. The item, when it's upside down, the weight falls off the pin, which disengages the latch, enables it to fall forward, which enables the lid to open. You can basically lift most of a full bin without the lid coming off in its normal use. So, and it'll also work if there's nothing in the bin, which why we put it out. But like you said, with lightweights, it's important that you can deal with all the parameters. Yeah, so the process is that the weight sits on the pin. When it goes upside down, leashes, and the lid's open. Sorry about that. That's basically it, and I wish all the other inventors all the best, and I hope that they all work for the Shires and our sake. So, thank you, Neil.
Fingers crossed, we can find at least more than one solution. So, checking the license group if people in this space. Next, I've got Alan Fox. Alan's a Surf Coast local. Lives in Port Bend, but a landscaping business. So, we called for a purchase probably about 12 months ago after seeing something in the paper about the issues they're experiencing. So, Klein and his business partner, Jason, been working on this for a while. Here's the little lock on the top right there. It's a plastic arm inside the bin.
Oh yeah, sure. Good morning, I think still. Firstly, thanks Neil and to the Surf Coast Shire for helping us with our trial. And that's what it is. It's a trial for us. We are here to learn. It's not available to the public as yet. We are putting it through its paces and trying to see what the results are. As Neil said, I'm from the Surf Coast Shire. I'm down in Janjuk. Done a heap of work in Lorne over the years, so I've got a fairly good understanding of the demographic and the landscape and its beauty. And look, to be honest, the reason for me inventing this was identifying a problem in Janjuk. Primarily was the wind down our way. And it blows, and the lids are open, and when they're open, they are useless. And the rubbish in the streets ends up in the storm water, ends up in the ocean, and I was sick to death of it and couldn't understand why there wasn't a solution. And talking with the Shire guys, the Cockatoos sort of came to light down here. And as the previous speaker said, the range of problems and the issues is huge. It's got to be easy for the householder, easy for the bin guys to pick it up, and it's got to work. So ours is really quite simple. We looked at a few of the others, the moving parts, all that sort of stuff. So we try to keep it as simple as we can. We're aiming to have it made from the same material as the bins. So as far as longevity goes, we're hoping it's going to last as long as the bin lasts, and as well as you take care of it too. As far as opening it, it really is as simple as that. So when it's down, hopefully the birds don't work it out. We're not saying that they won't, but we are trying to make it as hard as possible. And hopefully the bin falls over, it stays closed. If it's closed properly and the wind blows, it should stay closed as well. And we really hope to make some sort of difference to the problem of litter escape from these bins, because it's huge. It really is. So that's about it really from me.
Thanks, Colin. I feel like I'm on the set of The Inventors or Shark Tank here. Last one.
Yep, so next up at Alan Walsh from our very own men's shed in Lorne. So him and his name up there in the shed, been working with us for a long time. So being local Lorne residents, they experience the situation daily. There's been a lot of different trials over the years, but the current companies there have been open. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Neil. Pretty simple device that we've invented, and we have invented. We've had these on trial for 12 months, and to the best of my knowledge, maybe one or two cockies have opened it. Pretty simple. We thought we had a manufacturer to build these for us, but at the last moment they pulled out. Whether it's part of the lid or whether it's attached, we call it an apron. You just simply lift it up. There's no actual moving parts. We pop riveted this one in, but you could screw it or plastic weld it. We would have bought the other half of the bin, but we've got no budget. The council won't give us a budget. So, it's really simple. So there's nowhere for the cockies to stand to get purchased. They just can't. So we did try one that was a bit shorter, but the cockies are smart enough they can get up underneath and flick it up, but this one they can't. So simple. It works. It's been on trial. I've had them at my place for 12 months and just simply works. We get no cockies. End of story for me.
So thank you, designers, for your brains and putting your minds to this issue. So where we're at the moment, we've got 179 of the new designs, so the flyaway Ron's wire device and also Colin's little up. Between them is 179 out there. As Alan mentioned, he's having issues with supply or manufacturing being open, so as soon as he's able to find a supplier to do that, we'll purchase some of those and get them out there as well, so we have a broader trial of what's actually been done. Sure. Okay, so what are we doing? We've been trying to target hotspots, so based on information we've been receiving from the community, there's a number of streets where the issues seem to be more prevalent than others. So where we're putting the devices on, we're trying to target consecutive properties. So this is an example there of a cluster around Sol Street for Giant Village, where we fit mechanisms to all the bins. So it's open up for a trial if there's an easy target for properties to go on to the next bin. That's on time. So each one of the bins with the device has been fitted with a sticker. So and that's trying to get people to provide us feedback to see so we can hear what's actually going on out there. We're not down here every day. We'd love to be, but the community is our eyes out here. So we're reliant on everyone to provide us feedback, good, bad, or otherwise, about how things are actually performing. Just some examples of the feedback we've received already. A lot of it's been positive. So I won't read through them. There was a couple of things we have heard about the current mechanisms. The litter lock, so the arm needs a little bit more space between the bins so the truck can actually grab it. If they're too close together, the arm gets screwed up a little bit. And so the wire mechanism very comfortable, so they're actually getting tangled up in the arm of the truck as well. So a couple of little teething issues there, which might be more around education about how to actually use them. If it's working well for most people, we'll keep ensuring it. So just quickly, so the bin mechanisms is just one way of trying to tackle this issue. So yeah, so hopefully we can find more than one option. Yeah, there's two other approaches or two other things we're doing. So education. So Jacqueline Wilson, she came on last year as a waste education officer. She's developing sort of education programs around the cockatoos as well as other broad waste management sort of education about how to correctly separate waste. So interesting enough, the cotton's going to the red bin, so that's where the food used to be. They're still going there because there's still a lot of food there. So we can get the food out of the red bin into the right bin. Probably just transfer the cotton to another bin, but we'll visit that. And also reducing opportunities. So, and that's around making sure bins aren't being placed out too early or just being left on the street permanently. So we've engaged a litter prevention officer, Luke. He came across from our range services team last year, and part of his role is educating the community about not leaving the bins out. There is actually a local law that says you can't leave bins out permanently, you should only place out no more than 24 hours prior to scheduled collections. So Luke's already made a big difference around law already, so we've had a lot of compliments about the work he's doing, and you're not seeing those bins out there permanently. So overlay.
I'll just take a few questions if I can before we go to you, Luke.
A question, but also an observation. If we look around Lorne, we've got a population of 80% that are non-resident, and my belief is that if you drove the streets on a Monday morning, the majority of the bins that have been raided would be non-permanent residents. We all observe that there's a lot of bins that are left out for more than the time that they should be. In fact, if you just drive around today, being a Wednesday, there's a massive amount of bins out there. Airbnb is a major problem. I don't know how that's being addressed. And the education of people putting the right stuff in the right bin, that certainly doesn't work in the non-permanents. They look at a weekend and just say, well, I've got a heap of rubbish, I've got to get rid of it, I'll just stuff it in any bin I like. So how do we deal with that?
As I said, Luke's working on the bins being left out issue, and he'll talk about that in a minute. The short-term rentals, yeah, it's definitely an issue across the whole coast, and Lorne probably more so than other towns, but that's something that Jacqueline's been working on, is helping those property managers educate the people that stay there. It's near impossible sometimes. People on holidays go on holiday and they leave the grain at home, and often the bins are in and they don't care. So that's something we are very aware of and something we are trying to work on. So it's some of the coffee issue. It's not one we're going to solve overnight. Given
that's come up, Luke, do you mind your presentation will come back to questions? It's very relevant at the moment. So Luke, Shanhun, Litter Prevention Officer with Council.
So bins placed out on curbsides, days out from the scheduled collection days are easy targets for the hungry cockatoos, or for the bored cockatoos as well. Under Council's community amenity local law, bins should not be put out on the curbsides more than 24 hours prior to the scheduled collection date. Bins must be retrieved from the curbside not more than 48 hours after collection has occurred as well. Exclusions can apply when there is not enough room for the collection truck to pick up bins directly and take the property. In these instances, under Council's local law, owners are permitted to leave the bins at the location nominated by the waste collection contractor, Coinway and Council. For example, some of the properties along the Gratian Road where the arch is, those are some of the areas that have been allowed to leave the bins there. Currently, under our local law, this is not a new local law, but Council is now in the position to be able to proactively enforce these laws with the aim of helping to reduce litter from our curbside bins spreading into the streets. Since we currently have a 3-step enforcement process, first offence, property owner is issued a courtesy letter. Under the second offence, property owner is issued a notice to comply, and under the third offence, the property owner is issued a fine. This aligns with our council enforcement protocols. From the 10th of October, when I came on board, I thus issued 144 of the courtesy letters in Lorne alone. We've also issued 8 properties with a notice to comply. So out of the 144 that I've issued so far, only 8 have reoffended. Cockatoos are also creating issues with commercial bins, put out for collection not within the guidelines with the local law. While council does not provide curbside bin services for commercial properties, we are working with businesses to help them prevent cockatoos from scavenging in their bins and littering on their streetscapes. Bins from businesses should not be put out for collection more than 24 hours prior to collection and must be retrieved within 24 hours after the bin has been emptied. To further protect the business bins, we suggest the business owners to contact their waste management contractor to discuss options for using locks on their actual bins.
Thank you. Now, Luke, if you wouldn't mind staying there, and Neil, I'm going to give you this in case there are other questions of you.
Hi, I just want to comment to Luke. If you put your bin out 24 hours before collection, there'll be nothing left in it. They're going out too early.
Yeah.
They need to go out at dusk the day before the bin's collected.
Okay, so there's a comment and a suggestion.
Yeah, so under the local law at this stage, it states that they can put them out within 24 hours prior. It is something that we can look at when they review the local law, although reviewing it is a long process, but it is something that we could look at to see if we could actually shorten that time frame or whether it's an option too.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?